I never thought I'd be standing here, in the pouring rain, staring at the crumpled note in my hand, tears mixing with the raindrops on my cheeks. The ink was smudged, but the words were still painfully clear. I can't keep pretending, Jake. I'm sorry. It was from Matt, my best friend since we were 5. The guy who knew every stupid joke, every secret dream, every painful moment of my life. The guy who was supposed to be just my friend, but who, in that moment, felt like so much more. The night had started like any other. We were at our favorite dive bar, the one with the sticky floors and the neon signs that buzzed too loudly. Matt was laughing at something I'd said, his eyes crinkling at the corners in that way that always made my heart do a weird little flip. I'd ignored that flip for years, chalking it up to the familiarity of our friendship, the comfort of knowing someone so completely. But tonight, something was different. Tonight, that flip felt like a punch to the gut, a wake-up call I wasn't ready to answer. Matt had been acting strange all night. He was jittery, nervous, his laugh a little too loud, his smiles a little too forced. I'd asked him about it, but he just waved me off, blaming it on too much caffeine. I should have pushed harder, should have seen the signs that something was really wrong. But I didn't. I just let it go, let him steer the conversation back to safer waters. And then, just as I was about to suggest we call it a night, he handed me the note and walked away. I stood there, stunned, as he pushed his way through the crowded bar and out into the night. I couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but stare at the note in my hand. It was like the world had tilted on its axis, like everything I knew had suddenly been called into question. Matt was my friend, my best friend, the one constant in my life. But this note, it changed everything. I finally snapped out of my stupor and rushed after him, pushing past the curious stares of the other patrons. I burst out into the night, the cold air hitting me like a slap in the face. I looked around wildly, finally spotting Matt standing under a streetlight, his shoulders hunched against the rain. I ran to him, the note clutched tightly in my hand. "Matt," I called out, my voice hoarse with emotion. "What does this mean?" He turned to me, his eyes filled with a pain I'd never seen before. And that's when he said it, the words that would change our lives forever. "It means I'm in love with you, Jake, and I can't keep pretending that I'm not." I was speechless. The rain poured down on us, the world around us blurring into a mess of neon lights and distant chatter from the bar. Matt's confession hung in the air, heavy and raw, and I couldn't find the words to respond. I had always seen Matt as my rock, my constant, the person who knew me better than anyone else. But love? That was a territory we had never ventured into, at least not openly. Matt looked at me, his eyes searching mine for a reaction. I could see the fear in them, the vulnerability that he had never shown before. It was like looking at a stranger, someone who had been hiding a part of himself from me for years. "Jake, say something," he pleaded, his voice barely audible over the sound of the rain. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My mind was a whirlwind of confusion and shock. I thought back to all the moments we had shared, the late-night study sessions, the road trips, the countless times we had laughed until our sides ached. Had there been signs that I had missed? Had I been blind to his feelings all this time? I remembered the way he would look at me sometimes, with an intensity that I had always brushed off as just part of our deep friendship. But now those moments took on a new meaning, a depth that I hadn't allowed myself to see. "Matt, I don't know what to say," I finally managed to stammer. He looked away, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "It's okay, Jake. I understand," he said, his voice resigned. "I just couldn't keep it to myself anymore. It was eating me alive." I reached out and grabbed his arm, pulling him back to face me. "No, Matt, you don't understand. I'm not saying no. I'm saying I need time to process this. It's a lot to take in." His eyes widened in surprise, and for a moment, I saw a glimmer of hope in them. "You mean, you're not just going to walk away?" he asked, his voice trembling. I shook my head, the rain still pouring down on us. "No, Matt, I'm not walking away. You're my best friend, and that means something. But this changes everything. I need time to figure out what it means for us. He nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Okay, Jake, take all the time you need. I'll be here waiting. As we stood there, the rain finally beginning to let up, I realized that our friendship had just taken a turn that neither of us had seen coming. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with questions and doubts. But one thing was clear. Matt had stolen my heart, and I didn't even know it until now. The journey ahead was going to be anything but straightforward, but I was ready to face it, ready to explore this new territory with the person who had always been by my side. The days that followed were a blur of introspection and confusion. I found myself replaying every moment Matt and I had shared, every laugh, every tear, every silent understanding. Each memory took on a new hue, colored by the revelation of his feelings. I started to see patterns I had never noticed before. The way he would always sit a little closer to me than to anyone else. The way his eyes would linger on mine a moment longer than necessary. The way he would drop everything to be there for me no matter what. One evening, as I sat alone in my apartment, flipping through old photo albums, I came across a picture of us from high school. We were at a beach party, arms slung around each other's shoulders, grinning like fools. I remembered that night vividly. We had stayed up late, talking about our dreams and fears, watching the stars, and feeling like the world was ours for the taking. That night, Matt had told me he wanted to be a writer, to tell stories that would change people's lives. I had laughed and told him he was already changing mine. Looking at that photo now, I saw something I hadn't seen then. A tenderness in Matt's eyes, a look that went beyond friendship. It was like a veil had been lifted, and I was seeing our past through a new lens. I put the photo album down and picked up my phone, scrolling through our text messages. There were years of conversations, jokes, plans, and heart-to-hearts. Each message was a piece of our shared history, a testament to the bond we had built over the years. I decided to call him. It was late, but I knew he would answer. He always did. "Hey, Jake," he said, his voice warm and familiar. "Hey, Matt," I replied, my voice catching slightly. "I've been thinking a lot. About us. About everything." There was a pause on the other end, and I could almost hear his heart racing. "And?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "And I think I need to see you," I said, my heart pounding in my chest. "I need to talk to you face to face. There's so much I want to say, so much I need to understand." He let out a breath, and I could hear the relief in his voice. "Okay, Jake, whenever you're ready. I'll be here." We hung up, and I sat there, the phone still in my hand, feeling like I was on the edge of a precipice, ready to take a leap into the unknown. The next day, I found myself standing in front of Matt's apartment, my heart in my throat. I knocked on the door, and when he opened it, I saw the same mix of hope and fear in his eyes that I had seen that night in the rain. "Come in," he said, stepping aside to let me pass. His apartment was familiar, a place I had been 1,000 times before, but today it felt different, charged with an energy that was both exciting and terrifying. We sat down on the couch, the silence between us heavy with unspoken words. I took a deep breath and looked at him, really looked at him, seeing the man who had been my friend, my confidant, my rock. And in that moment I saw something else. A future that was both familiar and entirely new. A future where our bond could grow into something even deeper, something that transcended friendship. "Matt," I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "I've been thinking about what you said, about how you feel. And I realize now that I've been feeling something too, something I didn't understand until now." His eyes widened, and I could see the hope in them growing stronger. I think I'm falling in love with you too, Matt. And it scares me, but it also feels right. It feels like the next step in our journey together." His face broke into a smile, and he reached out, taking my hand in his. "Jake, I don't know what to say. I never dared to hope that you might feel the same way." I smiled back, feeling a warmth spread through me, a sense of rightness that I had never felt before. "Well, I do, and I want to explore this, Matt. I want to see where it takes us." As we sat there, Holding hands, the world around us seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of us, ready to embark on a new chapter of our lives together. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and discoveries, but I knew one thing for sure. I was ready to face it all, as long as Matt was by my side. In the weeks that followed, Matt and I navigated our new reality with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Every moment felt like a delicate dance, a balance between the familiar comfort of our friendship and the exhilarating uncertainty of our budding romance. We found ourselves rediscovering each other in ways we never had before, each interaction layered with new meanings and emotions. One afternoon, we decided to take a walk in the park where we used to spend countless hours as kids. The sun was warm, the leaves were turning golden, and the air was filled with the scent of autumn. As we strolled along the familiar paths, our hands brushed against each other, and I felt a jolt of electricity. It was a simple touch, but it carried a world of unspoken feelings. Matt looked at me, his eyes reflecting the same mix of nervousness and joy that I felt. We sat down on a bench by the lake, the water shimmering under the sunlight. "Remember when we used to come here and feed the ducks?" Matt asked, a soft smile playing on his lips. I nodded, the memories rushing back. "Yeah, we'd bring stale bread from home and spend hours watching them." He laughed, the sound warm and comforting. Those were good times. As we sat there, the silence between us was comfortable, filled with the shared history of our friendship. But there was also a new energy, a tension that was both exciting and a little scary. I turned to look at Matt, his profile outlined against the golden light of the setting sun. He was beautiful in a way that I had never allowed myself to see before. "Matt," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He turned to look at me, his eyes questioning. "I'm glad we're doing this. I'm glad we're giving this a chance." He smiled, reaching out to take my hand. "Me too, Jake. Me too." That night, we had dinner at a cozy little Italian restaurant we both loved. The atmosphere was warm and inviting, the perfect backdrop for our evolving relationship. As we talked and laughed over pasta and wine, I felt a sense of contentment that I had never experienced before. It was like every piece of my life was finally falling into place, and Matt was the key to it all. But as the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still unresolved. There was a part of me that was holding back, a part that was still afraid of what this new dynamic meant for our friendship. I looked at Matt, his eyes shining with happiness, and I knew I had to be honest with him. "Matt," I began, my voice serious, "there's something I need to tell you." He looked at me, concern etched on his face. "What is it, Jake?" I took a deep breath, gathering my courage. "I'm scared, Matt. I'm scared that if this doesn't work out, we'll lose what we have. I'm scared that our friendship won't survive this." He reached across the table, taking my hand in his. "Jake, I understand. I'm scared too. But I think we owe it to ourselves to try. We've been through so much together, and I believe that our friendship is strong enough to handle this. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." His words were a balm to my fears, a reminder of the strength of our bond. I nodded, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "You're right, Matt. We'll face it together." As we left the restaurant, hand in hand, I felt a new sense of determination. We were embarking on a journey that was both familiar and entirely new, a journey filled with challenges and discoveries. But I knew that as long as we had each other, we could face anything. The days turned into weeks, and our relationship continued to evolve. We shared moments of joy and laughter, moments of vulnerability and fear. Each day was a step forward, a testament to the strength of our bond. And as we navigated this new territory together, I realized that Matt had not just stolen my heart. He had shown me a love that was deeper and more profound than anything I had ever known. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, Matt turned to me, his eyes filled with emotion. "Jake, I need to tell you something." I looked at him, my heart racing. "What is it, Matt?" He took a deep breath, his voice steady. "I love you, Jake. I love you more than I ever thought possible. And I want to spend the rest of my life with you." His words hit me like a wave, washing over me with a mix of joy and fear. I looked into his eyes, seeing the depth of his feelings, the sincerity of his words. And in that moment, I knew that I felt the same way. I love you too, Matt, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. As we sat there, holding each other, the world around us seemed to fade away. It was just the two of us, ready to face whatever the future held. Together. Our journey had been anything but straightforward, filled with twists and turns that had challenged us and changed us. But through it all, one thing had remained constant: our love for each other. And as I looked into Matt's eyes, I knew that our love story was just beginning. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and discoveries, but I was ready to face it all, as long as Matt was by my side. Together, we would write the next chapter of our lives, a chapter filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. As the seasons changed and the world around us shifted, Matt and I found ourselves settling into a rhythm that was both comforting and exhilarating. Our love story was no longer just a secret between us. It had become a beacon of hope and inspiration for those around us. We decided to share our journey openly, not just for ourselves, but for anyone who might be going through something similar. That's when we started our YouTube channel, LGBTQ Journeys, a place where we could share our experiences, our challenges, and our triumphs. The response was overwhelming. People from all walks of life reached out to us, sharing their own stories, their own struggles, and their own victories. We became a community, a family of sorts, bound together by the shared experience of love and acceptance. Each video we posted was a testament to our journey, a reminder that love knows no boundaries, no labels. One evening, as we sat in our cozy apartment, editing our latest video, Matt turned to me, his eyes filled with emotion. "Jake, do you remember that night in the rain, when I handed you the note?" I nodded, the memory still vivid in my mind. "I never thought we'd be here doing this. I never thought our love story would inspire so many people." I smiled, reaching out to take his hand. "Neither did I, Matt. But here we are, sharing our journey with the world, and it feels right. It feels like this is what we were meant to do." He squeezed my hand, his eyes reflecting the same sense of purpose and fulfillment that I felt. Our latest video was a special one. It was a compilation of moments from our journey. The highs, the lows, the laughter, and the tears. As we watched the final cut, I felt a lump form in my throat. It was a powerful reminder of how far we had come, of the love that had grown and deepened with each passing day. "Matt," I said, my voice choked with emotion, "I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of what we've built together." He looked at me, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "Me too, Jake. Me too." As we uploaded the video, we knew that it would resonate with so many people. It was a story of love, of friendship, of acceptance, and of courage. It was a story that needed to be told, a story that could change lives. And so, as we sit here, reflecting on our journey, we want to invite you to be a part of it. Subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and comment down your favorite part of the video. Share your own stories, your own journeys, and let's build a community of love and acceptance together. Because in the end, love is love. It knows no boundaries, no labels. It's a force that can change the world, one heart at a time. And we're here to share that love, to spread that message, and to inspire anyone who might be going through something similar. So join us on this journey. Let's write the next chapter of our lives together, filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. Because in the end, it's not just about Matt and me. It's about all of us, united by the power of love and acceptance. And together we can change the world.